Good morning, class. These are our notes on section 9.1, solid figures is what we're looking at today. So the following shapes in this picture, and this I'm just reading exactly what's on the paper, have something in common. All of the sides are a kind of polygon. So remember our studies of polygons in this last unit. So that means rectangle, square, triangle, what else would we have? Dodecagons, all different kinds of shapes, right? So if you look at like this shape down here, one of the faces is a hexagon and then other faces are squares. So it doesn't have to just be one kind on the entire shape like a cube. They can be mixed together, but all of them are polygons. So remember, when we're looking at polygons, we're not talking circles, right? When we look at polygons, we mean that we have those straight edges. So these are examples of polyhedra, and then singular is polyhedron. So that's the first picture. And then down here, we're looking at things that are not polyhedra. So this means we've got a sphere, we've got a cylinder, we've got a cone. And that's because all of these have some curves in some way. So I'm just going to write the word curves here. So that's going to make it not a polyhedra because they are not polygons. So the ones that we're looking at, the polyhedra that we're looking at are going to be prisms and then pyramids. So if we look at a pyramid, the pyramid has a base and then like a point at the top, and they're all connected to that point. If we look at a prism, we've got two bases of some kind. So, and this is how you draw it too, right? I would draw it by making a rectangle, making another rectangle, and then connecting them. So they're two of the same base like that, and then they're connected. And the bases are going to be parallel. So they are parallel planes. All right, so let's go ahead and turn to the next page. All right, so now we're looking at this diagram. We've got a trapezoid on one side. And remember how I said it looked like you could take that trapezoid, we could take another trapezoid. So if you see them, there's one here, and then there's kind of one behind it, and then we're basically just connecting them when we draw this 3D figure. So that means it's going to be a trapezoidal prism. They're all going to have the word prism in there. But we don't talk about sides of the trapezoid anymore because we're looking at something that's 3D. We're going to call them edges instead. So we've got like this edge here that's going to join like two different faces. So the surfaces are called faces and the segments are edges. So we're looking at faces and edges now. So we're not talking about sides anymore. All right, so here's a couple that we're actually going to work out. So is the figure a polyhedron? So does it look like two different shapes that I've just drawn lines and connected? So we have a triangle at the top, we have a triangle at the bottom, and then we can see how those are connected. So that's going to be a yes, because these parallel sides are triangles. It is going to be a triangular prism. And then they're asking us about faces and edges. So I'm actually going to do the edges first because I want to use a marker on them. And if I mark up the faces first, it's going to be hard to see. But when I look at edges, we have 3 connecting the two shapes. We have 3 from the triangle on the top, and we have 3 from the triangle on the bottom. So the number of edges is going to be 3 plus 3 plus 3, which is just 9. So we have 9 edges. And how many faces? So let's go ahead and think through the faces. So the faces, I've got this one on the bottom, and I've got the one on the top. And then you can see like I've got a face in this side over here and this side over here. And then the one that's kind of hard to imagine is this one in the front that's connecting everything. So I like to think about how I've got that triangle on the top and the triangle on the bottom. So that's 2 faces. But then each of these sides of my triangle is basically going to create another face. So like when I connect those two, it makes a face. When I connect these two, I'd have a face in front, and then I'd have a face on the side also. And so that's going to be 3 kind of around the middle connecting the triangles, and then a triangle on the top and on the bottom. So that's going to be 5 faces. So you're always just going to have to kind of go through and count and think about this. It's not going to be something that you might see some patterns, but you're really going to have to think. It's not something that we're just going to memorize and say, oh, it's a square, now it's this many. We do need to count them. So is the next one a polyhedron? And the answer is going to be no, because of the curves, right? But its name is a cylinder. Okay, on the last one, are we looking at a polyhedron? We are, and this is one of the 2 types. Remember, our polyhedron are divided into prisms like we did on part A, and then pyramids. So this is going to be a yes. So it's some kind of pyramid, but I need to go ahead and check out the sides on my base to name it. So 1, 2, 3, and I'm saying sides, but really it's edges now, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it looks like a hexagon on the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just double checking. And I think judging by these markings, it's even a regular hexagon. So hexagonal pyramid. And how many faces? So if I think about each side of my hexagon as going to the point at the top, and I have 6 sides on my pentagon, that means I'm going to have 6 around the top and then 1 for my base. So I will have 7 faces. And then for the edges, I might want to just count those. So remember, we have 1 coming up from each of these angles here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But then I also have 6 on the hexagon itself. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so that's going to be 12 edges. So we're going to spend a lot of time counting today. At the bottom, we're going to try sketching a triangular prism. So I find for me, the easiest way is to draw some kind of a triangle, any kind of triangle you want. Try to make another triangle that looks exactly like that one, but kind of space it out. And you can tell this is not perfect, right? This is just me doing a quick sketch. And then we're just going to connect those sides. And I could make the one that I can't see in the back, right? We could make those dotted instead if we wanted to. But that's basically how you do that. So we're just going to take and draw some kind of a triangle. I'm going to try and make this one a little bit better, but the surface I'm writing on is not the best. I've got the wood grain of the table here that's kind of making this more difficult. So I make 2 triangles that look the same, and then I'm just connecting those vertices. And then if I wanted to make it extra fancy, again, the parts that are in the back, you could go through and you could dash them instead. So triangular prism. The last page of our notes is just some different shapes for us to look at, just thinking about all these different kind of prisms. So rectangular prism, I feel like that's what you always see when you see problems about boxes, but you can see there's a rectangle on the front and back, and then they are connected, or you could say top and bottom, right? It doesn't matter which side we're looking at here. Triangular prism, so that's what we just drew. A cube, so that's where you have squares all the way around, all the sides are squares. And then here's some different kinds of pyramids: rectangular, triangular, and pentagonal. And then the last 3 are going to be our not polyhedra: cylinder, cone, and sphere. So we should just probably make a note here that they're all solids because they're all 3D figures, but these are polyhedra here. And that row at the bottom is not polyhedra. So I'm hoping this will be a pretty easy day of notes for you. As always, make sure you are asking for help in class if you need it.